But, even more unusual, Martha's sister Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet. She is taking the place of a man. But she's doing what she wants to do. She's listening. She is hearing Jesus talk and teach. And as far as we can read from the text, she's thoroughly enwrapped in what he's saying. Martha, on the other hand, is distracted in the work. She's bustling around, trying to get things done, trying to make sure that the guests are all taken care of, trying to make sure that this important itinerant preacher is happy and satisfied and has received all the hospitality that she can offer. And there's her sister doing nothing. And so she goes to her, not to her sister, but she goes to Jesus and says, you know, you might think that she could help a little bit. You know, I'm so busy here. Got so much stuff to do. I'm running around like crazy. What do you say, Jesus? Could you tell Mary to give me a hand? And Jesus says, Martha, you're so worried and distracted by so many things. But there is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it won't be taken away from her. Now, the implication is, I suppose, Martha has chosen the worst part, and it might be taken away from her. And in traditional or historical interpretations of these texts, we see Martha as being wrapped up in the world. She has chosen not to listen to Jesus. She has chosen not to sit at his feet and to hear his words. She has chosen instead to allow herself to get wrapped up in the stuff of her worldly life, the stuff of being a hostess, the stuff of being the one to provide hospitality. And she's allowed all of that to worry her and distract her. And she has missed an opportunity. Mary, on the other hand, in these traditional interpretations, has chosen a sort of a contemplative life, you see. She has chosen meditation. She has chosen worship. She has chosen prayer. She has chosen study. And in the traditional interpretations, then, that is the better part. Not the worldly service, but the prayer and meditation and study. The problem with that is obvious. Right? Are you with me? If we all spend all of our time in study and meditation and prayer, which are good things, what gets done? The guests go hungry. The service doesn't happen. Mission doesn't happen. We're all doing the better part. We're all spending our times in private or in worship and in prayer and in study. But if we turn that around, you see, Jesus gives a kind of, in these traditional interpretations, Jesus is giving an endorsement of Mary and a rebuke to Martha. If we turn that around, if he were to have rebuked Mary for some reason, saying, you know, if Mary were sitting there at Jesus' feet and just kept looking around over her shoulder saying, what's Martha doing? Why doesn't she just sit down and leave us alone? If Jesus had rebuked Mary and endorsed Martha, the same thing would apply, you see. If we spend all of our time in service, if we spend all of our time in work, then we lack the foundation, we lack that essential element of worship and prayer and study. So the traditional kind of interpretation just doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then we have to ask ourselves, what is the one thing that is needed, and what is the better part? I think the key to understanding what that is has a couple of aspects. On the one hand, it has to do with attitude. What Martha was doing was important. What Mary was doing was important. We don't need to see them as contrasting against one another. What we should see is what we should do is to see them as complementary. Mary, for her part, seems to be content, at peace, happy, pleased, sitting there at Jesus' feet, hearing what he had to say, listening to him teach. Martha is worried and distracted. She has taken this invitation that she made, this invitation that she gave to Jesus and his company, and it has become a duty and a responsibility. And there isn't any joy in it for her. There isn't any feeling of accomplishment. There isn't any feeling of happiness or contentedness. All there is worry and distraction. And she's mad at